Good morning and welcome to the Fundamentals of English Language and Literature Teaching, which is paper number 10 of semester 3 for MA English Part 2. In this video, we are going to talk about the history of teaching English in India after independence. The very first commission that is appointed by the Free India is the University Education Commission of 1948. This commission is appointed for looking into the problems of university education. The University Education Commission, as it is called as, is appointed by the Government of India in 1948 under the chairmanship of Dr. S. Radhakrishnan in pursuance of the recommendations of the Central Advisory Board of Education and also of Inter-University Board. The commission made important suggestions for improving the standard of university education in the country. Introduction of a 3-year degree course for the first university degree. Greater use of tutorial system for instruction, formulation of new aims, emphasis on developing knowledge and critical thinking rather than mechanical passing of examinations, establishment of rural universities and introduction of moral education are some of the salient recommendations by Radhakrishnan Commission of 1948. An All India Commission for Secondary Education appointed in 1952 under the chairmanship of Dr. A. Lakshman Swami Mudaliar is the next important commission in the Free India. The aim was now to train our youth for intermediate leadership and for democratic citizenship. Secondary education was to be terminal stage for a large majority of the nation's youth who would take up their places in society after their school education and provide leadership to the general masses. The commission was equally concerned with the qualitative improvement of the school system of education. Multipurpose secondary schools was a new concept recommended by this commission. Inclusion of craft, social studies, general science in the curriculum was aimed at orienting students towards an industrial and science-centered democratic life. The report of the Education Commission published in June 1956 is perhaps a landmark in the history of education in India even today. The Secondary Education Commission of 1952 had new organization pattern for technical education, study of languages, curriculum design in languages, social studies, general science, mathematics, art and music, craft, and physical education. And the miscellaneous recommendations of the Commission are educational guidance should be received much greater attention on the part of educational authorities. The services of trained guidance officers and career masters should be made available gradually and in increasing measure to all educational institutions. The number of external examinations and subjectivity in the essay type tests should be minimized by introducing the objective tests and also by changing the type of questions. The third committee is the National Committee on Women's Education in 1958. The National Committee on Women's Education was accordingly set up by the government in May 1958 with Srimati Durgabai Deshmukh as the chairman. A parity between education of boys and girls is to be brought about according to this committee. It recommended the co-education up to the middle school stage but separate institutions for girls at the higher school stage where more diversified curriculum which is suited to the girls is to be administered. The committee desired ample provision for schools, mothers, creches, training of women teachers, and employment facilities for adult women. It also desired that suitable atmosphere should be created for greater enrollment of girls, for greater efforts by voluntary organizations, more provision for scholarships for girls at all stages, and particularly at the university stage. The Kothari Commission of 1964 is a landmark in the post-Indian development of education system. In view of the important role of education in the national development And in building up a truly democratic society, the government considered it necessary to survey and examine the entire field of education in order to realize a balanced, integrated, and educated and adequate system of national education capable of making a powerful contribution to all aspects of national life. To achieve these objectives speedily, the Government of India in October 1964 set up an Education Commission under the resolution of July 14, 1964. The commission, under the chairmanship of Dr. D.S. Kothari, Chairman, University Grants Commission, consisted of 16 members. Education and national objectives, social and national integration, education for democracy, social, moral, and spiritual values, and education and modernization were the major objectives of Kothari Commission. Of the major proposals of Kothari Commission from the language point of view, the three language formula is of much importance for all of us. According to the three language formula, a child taking admission into school and college level of education system in India would be equipped with three languages at least: the mother tongue or the regional language, the official language of the union or the associate official language of the union so long as it exists, which would be Hindi or English, and a modern Indian language or a foreign language not covered under A and B, and other than that used for the medium of instruction. So, accordingly, a child passing through the education system within the country will at least be acquainted with three languages. Number one, the mother tongue. Number two, the official language, which could be Hindi or English. And number three, the second language, which could be Hindi or English, according to the state. The state government would decide what would be the second language and the third language. As a result of which, every child across the country will be equipped with the mother tongue, Hindi, and English to a greater extent. The National Policy on Education and had the report of the Committee of the Members of the Parliament in 1968 is worth mentioning here. To consider the report of the Education Commission, the Kothari Education Commission, and to prepare the draft of a statement on the national policy of education for the consideration of the Government of India, and to identify a program for immediate action is the main motto of establishing the first national policy of education in 1968. First, the National Policy of Education in 1968, the committee did not accept the recommendations of the Commission for the creation of 5 or 6 major universities or for upgrading the percent of the institutions at the level to optimum standards. Secondly, the committee placed a greater emphasis on the expansion of facilities than the Commission had done, especially at the school stage. And thirdly, the committee did not favor several recommendations of the Commission, whose main objectives was to create certain new administrative structures or changes in the existing ones. And the National Policy of Education of 1968 had the following objectives: National Policy on Education, strengthening the national unity, the neighborhood schools, adoption of Indian languages as medium of education at all stages, the teaching of languages, the science education and research, education for agriculture and industry, and character formation for the students. The National Policy of Education 1986 is the second national policy on education. The first NEP, National Education Policy, was promulgated in 1968 by the government of the Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, and the second by Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi in 1986. Based on the report and recommendations of the Education Commission of 64-66, Prime Minister Indira Gandhi announced the first national policy on education in 1968, which called a radical restructuring and equalize educational opportunities in order to achieve national integration and a greater cultural and economic development. The policy called for fulfilling compulsory education for all children up to the age group of 14. The three language formula to be implemented in secondary school education, and the instruction of the English language, the official language of the state where the school was based, and Hindi and the local language. The policy also encouraged the teaching of the ancient Sanskrit language, which was considered an essential part of Indian culture and heritage. The National Policy on Education in 1968 called for education spending to increase to 6% of the national income. The National Policy on Education of 1986 called for the special emphasis on the removal of disparities and to equalize educational opportunity for all, especially for Indian women, scheduled castes, and scheduled tribes in the Indian society. To achieve these, the policy called for expanding scholarships, adult education, recruiting more teachers from the reserved categories, incentives for poor families to send their children to the schools regularly, development of new institutions, and providing housing and services to all in the country. The NPE also called for a child centric approach in primary education and launched the Operation Blackboard to improve the primary schools nationwide. The policy expanded the Open University system with the Indira Gandhi National Open University, which had been created in 1985. The policy also called for the creation of the Rural University model based on the philosophy of Indian leader Mahatma Gandhi to promote economic and social development at the grassroots level in rural India. Let us concentrate on the recent developments after the two NPs. In 1986, the National Policy on Education was modified in 1992 by the P.V. Narasimha Rao government. In 2005, Prime Minister Manmohan Singh adopted a new policy based on the Common Minimum Program of this United Progressive Alliance UPA government and a right to education RTE between the age groups of 6 years and 14 years was introduced and a compulsory free education was given to all between the age groups of 6 and 14 years. The National Commission for Higher Education has been formed and National Accreditation Regulatory Authority NAC has been established. Prohibition of unfair practices in 2010 for the engineering and the medical colleges. The Education Tribunals Bill was passed in the Parliament in 2010. The Foreign Educational Institutions Regulation of Entry and Operations Bill was passed in 2010 to encourage the foreign universities establishment in India. The academic reforms brought about in the recent years are the phase wise introduction of the credit system. The semester system has replaced the annual system. A continuous evaluation is being observed in the semester pattern. Updating of curricula to retain its relevance. Interdisciplinary in developing curricula. A number of competitive admissions has been observed. Innovations in teaching learning methods has been observed. Rewards to meritorious teachers and research papers to motivate the teachers and teachers to upgrade and upgrade the qualifications and knowledge by attending various orientation and refresher courses. Knowledge Commission report 2005 has been a major outbreak during this recent times. This is on education and on language. Sam Petroda in 2005 have presented the Knowledge Commission report. I would recommend all my students to go through the Knowledge Commission report thoroughly for a complete idea. The major emphasis was on access, concepts, creation, application, and services in education sector. Government, academia, media, and industry should work together for a better output. The State Council for Educational Research and Training SCERT and the National Council for Educational Research and Training NCERT should do extensive research and come out with really qualitative textbooks. The next Ayog is the Niti Ayog, National Institution and for Transforming India, put forward in 2015. It's a 15-year roadmap to foster cooperative federalism through structured support initiatives and mechanisms with the states on a continuous basis, recognizing that strong states make a strong nation. The 7-year vision, strategy, and action plan of Niti Ayog are to establish Amrut and Digital India, Atal Innovation Mission, medical education reform, agricultural reforms, indices measuring states' performance in health, Education and Water Management, subgroup of Chief Ministers on rationalizing of currently sponsored schemes, subgroup of Chief Ministers on Swachh Bharat Mission, subgroups of Chief Ministers on skill development, task forces on agriculture and operation of poverty, and transformation of India lecture series are some of the most important propositions of Niti Aayog. I would recommend my students to read the Niti Aayog also completely for a better understanding. National Policy on Education 2019. R. Kasturi Rangan is the chairman of National Policy on Education in 2019. Formed in 2016, submitted the draft on May 31st, 2019. Its 3 years to 18 years of age group is covered under a new ministry titled as the Ministry of Education. The policy aims at making India a knowledge superpower by equipping students with the necessary skills and knowledge. It also aims at eliminating manpower in science, technology, academics, and industry. The draft policy is built up on the foundation pillars of access, equity, equality, affordability, and accountability with the structure of 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. Open for discussion and change challenges and changes in 2019, but now in 2020 the bill is passed. In the next video, we shall be talking about the NPE 2019-20. Thanks for watching this video. In this video, we have been acquainted with the commissions and committees that are established in the educational policies by the Government of India after independence. In the next video, we shall be talking about the National Policy of Education 2020. Stay tuned till then. Bye for now.